The warehouse is open. Tales from the Warehouse volume, drumroll please, 60. Another one of the collector profiles. Pleased to be joined by Jordan Wompierski up there in New Jersey. I'm in suburban D.C. Jordan, pleasure to make your acquaintance, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely, Scott. It's funny. I watch these all the time, so to be on the show is a little surreal. But thank you for having me.
No, man, I saw a lot of stills from a lot of friends post expos. We record this, and we'll do a little bit of a wrap up for that. Talk a little bit about your
Sure.
experience, but this was one that I normally go to, and have certainly been to my fair share. Was just coming off of a family vacation, and could not turn right around and then make both work at the same time. And of course, I got grief from my friends in the Migrate family. They're like, you like your family that much that you chose that over this? But it's one of those things.
Yeah, you missed a good time, but we'll tell you all about it.
Definitely so. Just as a quick reminder, check out mygray.com. The summer sale is ongoing. Aside from the partnerships with Columbus, Nashville, the Devils, the Flyers, the Wild, and the Caps, there are deals galore to be had from now throughout the summer. And of course, mygrayauctions.com. Not only NHL and goal pucks, but NBA, WNBA. In fact, right now, check it out. Golden State Valkyries inaugural franchise victory pieces are up, including some really cool stuff from Caitlin Chen out of UConn. There you go. Jordan, again, it's a long time coming because I'm very familiar through social media with your name, with your collection, and it's something that, again, I'm a little bummed that I missed out, but take me from the beginning. How did you get into this crazy world of fabric and Kevlar-type facial protections for goaltenders?
For sure. Yeah. So, I mean, as a kid, I was big into hockey cards. Obviously, like a lot of kids who follow hockey are. Uh, you know, on Easter, instead of doing an Easter egg hunt in our backyard, my parents would spread hockey cards around the backyard, and my brother and I would go and we'd find the packs and we'd open them and we'd have a great time. So, was really big into hockey cards as a kid. Obviously, my favorite cards were the cards with swatches of jersey or little slivers of game used stick. I just thought that was the coolest thing in the world, and I loved collecting those memorabilia cards. And one day around 2004, 2005, I stumbled across the My Gray website and my mind was blown. I had no idea the hobby existed to that point. The fact that you could get the entire stick or the whole jersey not snipped up was just such a cool concept to me. And from there, I instantly graduated from cards to sticks and then ultimately jerseys. The fact you could have the full piece of memorabilia, it didn't get any cooler than that to me. And so that's how I kind of used cards as the gateway into the game worn hobby.
So first of all, shout out to mom and dad for being uber creative and doing
Yeah,
an
yeah.
Easter egg hunt with cards. God bless them and God bless their minds at work. That's a tremendously creative idea and full kudos. Right now, I'm going through sort of a card indoctrination with, I have three kids. Our youngest is 16, and he's gotten really fond of moving, shaking, and collecting. And through the years, I would take him home, and my other son, of 16 and 21, and soon to be 23. The two boys are on the younger side, although whatever, for whatever it's worth. I would bring them home team sets, Jordan. So all of a sudden, the team sets grew into a binder. And hey, do we have a koozie? Do we have a Holtby? Do we have an Ovi? And they're both huge Capital fans. All three of my kids are immense Capitals fans, and that's been their gateway. And as they've grown up, they've gotten more and more appreciative of what dad has in the modest closet as well as far as fabric. So there's definitely a connection there. I'll ask you about your family life in just a little bit. Do you remember the first game worn thing that you, whether it was a sweater or a stick or game used stick, or masks obviously come later because those carry a different type of stratosphere of price tag, if you will.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I never fathomed I would own a mask one day, but we'll get to that later. As for my humble beginnings in collecting, like I said, I started off buying some sticks from My Gray. I don't remember the very first
Mhm.
one, but I do know I bought a bunch of sticks from players from the 2003 Devils Stanley Cup team. So I had Jeff Friesen and his blue Mission M1 and Mike Rupp and his yellow TPS and all those sticks that really stood out on the ice. So I thought it was so cool that I could have as part of my collection. But as far as jerseys go, like I said, I started buying sticks from My Gray around 2004 or 2005. but it was the fall of 2006 when I got my first ever jersey, which was this one right here. I still have it. It's number one on the
I
rack.
want to be up close and personal with this. There you go.
Not even a Devils jersey, but it's Devils related.
River
It's a Steven Gianta Albany Riverettes jersey, and so I'll try to keep the story somewhat brief. But basically, my two favorite Devils players at the time were Marty Brodeur and Brian Gianta. And so in the spring of 2006, Steven Gianta graduated from Boston College and he signed an amateur tryout agreement with the Riverettes, which I thought was really cool because obviously I was a big fan of Brian. And so to have his brother in the system as well was just really exciting. And so Steven, in his Albany Riverettes, in his professional debut, he actually scored a hat trick, which is funny because he wasn't really known as a scorer and he didn't go on to be a scorer. But in his pro debut, he scored a hat trick for the Riverettes, and I thought that was the coolest thing. Fast forward a couple of months to that September, the Riverettes were playing a preseason game against the Philadelphia Phantoms in Voorhees in South Jersey, which is not too far from where I live.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to that Riverettes Phantoms game, and Steven Gianta was playing in that game. Another Devils brother, Jordan Wompierski, was in net for. They're actually the Lowell Devils by that time. The Rats affiliation had ended, and they were the Lowell Devils. But they were wearing New Jersey Devils jerseys because that's how Lou did it. His minor league teams wore Devils jerseys in the preseason. So anyway, Steven Gianta scored the game-winning goal in that preseason game against the Phantoms. And as he was skating off the ice, it was at a practice rink. It wasn't a very big venue, so I was right there in the action. And as Steven skated off, I said, "Hey, Steven, do you mind if I get a really quick picture?" And he said, "Yeah, no problem. I'll be right back." And he went into the locker room. And honestly, I didn't expect to see him again. But lo and behold, 5 minutes later, he came back out and he posed for a picture with me. And I just thought that was awesome. I mean, he was far from a big name player or a star, but just to take the time out of his day for just some random kid, I thought that was the greatest. So that was early September 2006. Later that month, I was a freshman in college, scrolling eBay, and I came across the Albany Riverettes auction for his pro debut jersey. And so
Boom.
I had to have it. That was my first ever game-worn jersey. It's funny, I actually, for some reason or another, back then in 2006, after I won it, I printed off the eBay listing, and I still have it. I guess that maybe some part of me knew it was the start of a really cool memorabilia journey, but that was my first ever
Very, very cool. So there's sticks, there's NHL sweaters, there's minor league sweaters, there's masks. Any other sports in the Wompierski arsenal, or it's just the skates, the blades, and your love of hockey?
So I primarily collect hockey. My hockey collection is way bigger by far, but I do have a modest Philadelphia Phillies baseball collection. Like I said, I'm here in South Jersey, so my home baseball team is the Phillies. My home hockey team's technically the Flyers, but that's okay. I live in New Jersey, so I'm a
Judgment-free zone, man. It's all good.
So I do have a couple Phillies jerseys, hats, balls, bats, but nothing like hockey.
Gotcha. So I was going to say, share, because I grew up a Phils fan. I'm happy to say ooh and ah, like we're at the Jordan Wompierski fireworks display.
Yeah, yeah.
Any Harper, any Nick, any Real Muto, any Zach Eflin, any.
So I will say I'm all. If you win a championship for your team, you have a special place in my heart, and so that kind of holds true for any sport. These jerseys behind me are primarily from the glory days, or at least my glory days, growing up as a Devils fan. And same, my Phillies jerseys are the same way. A lot of guys from the 2008 team. I've got a Howard, a Ruiz, stuff like that. So
Beautiful.
I'm a little lacking in the modern guys. Don't get me wrong. I'd love to have a Harper.
They
Little
beat the Rays in the never-ending World Series contest that rainy night that ran into the rainy morning, right? That was the suspended, whatever. Hell of a team, hell of a memory.
Have a ball from that game too, which is pretty cool. From when they picked up the second part of the game after the suspension, Ryan Howard's at bat in the 8th inning, right before they won it in the 9th. So
Oh my gosh. It's Tales from the Warehouse, volume number 60, Collector Profile. Talking to the very proud and much respected collector, Jordan Wompierski. He's nice enough to join us inside the warehouse. Quick reminder, check out mygrayauctions.com. Even if your sport's out of season, always great things going through. Right now, just up recently, the Golden State Valkyries. Their inaugural franchise victory pieces are up right now. So many collectors find ties to the first this, the first that. Well, here's your chance to get a uniform from the franchise's initial/inaugural victory. Also pieces from Caitlin Chen, UConn's very own. And of course, summer sale going on all across mygray.com, all through every platform. All right, so we said we are going to talk about the expo. Let's get into it. What was your overall impression? And how many expos has this been, or what? You've been around for a minute, as you said. Started collecting 20 plus years ago, so I don't imagine this was the first expo. Are you up to double digits because they just celebrated their 20th? What was the overall vibe like?
Hey, you hit me with the multi-part question there. So let me start with.
Yes.
Let me start with
last answer first, Scott. That's it's the
yeah.
sports radio. What am I doing, man?
No worries. So I've kind of lost count at this point how many I've been to. I think I went to my first expo back in 2008 or 2009. So I guess I'm an expo veteran. I haven't been there from the very start, but I've been to my fair share intermittently over the years. Kind of like in the dead of summer, sometimes family vacation gets in the way, or I've got other things going on. But I try to make it whenever I can, and so I go every couple of years. This year was my third year displaying. And as for my impressions, it was great. It was great as always. I mean, there was a really cool variety of stuff on display. It was great to catch up with collectors that I've known for many years. It was great to meet new collectors. I thought there was a really diverse variety of teams. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but sometimes you kind of see the same teams over and over and over again, which makes sense because the local fans come. But I thought there was a really nice array of stuff on display, and it was a really fun day.
I heard from several friends, and they meant this in the utmost. There was a hell of a crowd, like packed.
Yeah.
Not only the summer sale and the warehouse and the different racks or whatever, which was a nice little curveball for those of you who were in line and whatnot to, whether you were first, second, third, there was a load of extra Easter eggs, not hockey cards, but game worn sweaters throughout throughout the warehouse itself. But friends said it was an amazing, amazing crowd. And maybe it was just it shows you the state of the hobby. Not a multi-pronged question. What do you think events like this expo do for the hobby?
Yeah. Well, first of all, yes, it was absolutely packed in a good way. It was great to see so many people there. And I think events like this are huge because, I mean, the hobby is all about personal connections, whether it's a personal connection you feel to your team or a player or a specific piece of memorabilia or to another collector. Like, it's all about connections and relationships. And so I think it's so cool to have an event like this and, all the other expos that happen throughout the year where collectors can come and link up and talk and catch up. And I think it's great, number one, for that, for existing collectors. But then number two, like, it's a really good opportunity to get new people into the hobby.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking back to me as a kid collecting my hockey cards with my little swatches of jerseys on them, I had no idea you could even get a game worn jersey. And so you could, there were collectors walking around who were asking lots of questions, learning, clearly new young kids who were just blown away at the stuff they were seeing. And I think it's really cool because those are the types of people who now their eyes are open to the hobby and now they can become a part of it.
Yeah, definitely so. And I emphatically agree. I think back to my first days in the hobby, Jordan, and if you would have shown me one of these back then, I'm like, I'm mind blown every time I go to a Migray Expo or Northern Virginia Expo or wherever, or South Jersey or our friends in St. Louis or the West Coast one, which I've not had the pleasure of attending. But you hear such great things. You see such great things. I always like living vicariously from those who represent with photographs, whether it's on Facebook or pick your favorite social media platform. I can't thank them enough for sharing just a couple of minutes of those tables or just a quick walk around camera view. Those things make me happy. And then you get there. And then, as I've said a million times on these podcasts inside the warehouse, you get there and you meet friends you haven't met yet. And there's just so much in common. aside from the sweaters, you find that out slowly, but already it's built in. And I've used that, sort of analogy, metaphor, whatever, comparison. You're hockey fans, you're sports fans. You like to collect stuff, most notably this. Any additions that you want to talk about from the most recent weekend? Any cool interactions that perhaps led to a trade or a purchase or an acquisition, let's just say?
So I did make an acquisition. I wish there was an exciting story behind the acquisition. There really isn't, other than it was on sale and I like saving money. But I showed you my first jersey over here. This is my
Yes.
recent jersey. This is right out of the My Gray warehouse. This is Nico Heischer's 2021 2022 third set 2 jersey. And
Look
so,
at that.
I will say there's not a special story behind the purchase itself, but the jersey to me is a little bit sentimental. I know you said you'd ask about family later, but I'll bring them up now because it's relevant. I have 3 kids, and they were all born on Devils game days, which is kind of crazy when you think about it, right? There's only 82 regular season games a year out of 365. What are the odds all 3 of them were born on a game day? I think it's like 1% or less. I calculated at one point because I was just so blown away at how that happened. But anyway, I have a game worn jersey from all 3 of those dates. So our
Oh,
daughter
wow.
Gianna, she was born February 2nd, 2016. The Devils played and beat the Rangers at home that day. So I have 2 jerseys from that game back there. Our son Jake, he was born on January 2nd, 2019. The Devils played in Dallas that night. I have a couple jerseys from that game. But our youngest daughter, Genevieve, she was born on April 7th, 2022. The Devils played the Canadiens at home in their alternates, and I didn't have anything from that game yet. And so I had my eye on this one, and the summer sale was the perfect opportunity to bring it home. So now all 3 kids' birthdays are represented.
That's perfect. All right, so a little more from the expo. The pictures that I saw were an amazing display of masks, and they are proudly set up behind you. I don't know if it's all, some, doesn't matter. How did you decide that you were going to do the mask thing this year and not the sweater? And then we'll talk a little bit more about the masks
Yeah,
specifically.
of course. So like I said, I've displayed 3 times before. The first time I displayed was, I think, 2018, and the guest that year was Mike Rupp. So as a Devils fan, I'm of
Mhm.
course a big Mike Rupp fan. He played such a huge role in that 2003 Stanley Cup. It was really a storybook ending to the year for him. He made his NHL debut on his birthday that year. He had 2 goals and a third goal disallowed for a high stick. So he almost had the hat trick. And then obviously he comes in game 7 and he scores the game winning goal. So anyway, Rupp was speaking at that expo, and I had a couple Rupp jerseys. So of course I had to display them. And so I came and I did a display of some Rupp stuff and then a couple other jerseys. The second time I displayed was 2023, and that coincided with the 20th anniversary of the Devils 2003 Cup team. So I did a 2003 Stanley Cup display. And then so for this year, I wanted to do something different. I had done, run of the mill jerseys, and, with all due respect to Mike, role players like Rupp. I had done stars like Yager and Brodeur and all of those guys. So I figured, why not just do something completely different and, a really cool theme, and just do all my masks on one table. I have my masks displayed here in my house, and, they're in display cases kind of spread out throughout the basement, but I thought, how cool would it be to just slap them all on a table in one spot? And honestly, for me, as much as everybody else, just I'd love to go stare at them all day long and on one table. So that's what I went with.
And we're talking to Jordan Wompierski. He's a collector. We're doing a collector profile. It's Tales from the Warehouse, volume number 60. Scott Linn with you, of course. MyGrayAuctions.com. Quick reminder, check it out right now. WNBA, awesome stuff. The great Caitlin Chen out of UConn. She's part of the Golden State Valkyries. And, of course, they're under the My Gray umbrella. The Valkyries' inaugural franchise victory pieces are up right now at MyGrayAuctions.com. All right, so as a mass collector, I've always been fascinated. Much respect. The sweaters are eye-catching. And this isn't a what's better, what do you like better? I'm a goalie a fan, a goalie respecter. I don't want to say I'm an aficionado. I played street hockey and floor hockey. That's as high of a level as I got to. But I've always been fascinated and have collected goalie sweaters through the years. I've never been able to get to the mask level, but whenever I see them, Jordan, I stop by the table and I ask if there are white gloves or what have you. What does it make? What makes them extra special for you as well?
Yeah, I mean, you said it. First of all, I'm a goalie nut myself. The whole reason I'm a hockey fan is because I was drawn to the sport by goalies, and Brodeur in particular. I was just captivated by him as a kid, and then growing up watching all of the awesome goalies of the late 90s and early 2000s, like some of the coolest parts of goaltending is the equipment and the masks, and it's an opportunity for those goalies to express themselves and show a little bit of personality. And I mean, think about all the iconic goalie masks: Ed Belfour's eagle, Cujo's snarling dog,
Hmm.
the NJ with the horns and the tail that Brodeur wore.
Sure.
Um, goalie,
Terrari's plane.
yeah, oh, that one was really exciting. um,
But it
but
made
yeah,
a statement. Yes, it was, you look at him or you looked at like an Osgood guy or even,
yeah, yeah.
yes, but I totally hear what you're saying.
So I was always drawn to goalie masks, and then to have an opportunity to actually own a goalie mask is just surreal. It took me, 10 plus years of being in the hobby before I got my first mask. And then you kind of get bitten by the mask bug and it just snowballs. But what I really love about it is, like I said, it's an opportunity for the goalie to show a little bit of personality. It's the one thing that like stands out as unique or different on the ice. You've got the whole squad in matching uniforms except the goalie. He's got his own special mask.
Right.
And so not only is it a really cool piece of memorabilia, but it's also a work of art. Like some people like to collect art and frame their favorite paintings and hang them on the wall. I collect art, except the canvas is a goalie mask instead of
Hmm.
a painting. So
So I'll see if we can catch you in there. We both sort of chuckled over the Terrari plane expression. Um, uh, is there something that makes these masks when you're looking to acquire, does it have to be painted up? Does it have to have a design? Or I remember that game. I remember that championship run. I remember that era. What makes you want to go out and go, I need that? Or is it just a player? I need a Burke. I need a Billington. I need and need has it's all relative. You know what I'm saying? I'd like to acquire for the
of course.
collection. Dot dot dot.
It's a little bit of everything, honestly. Like when it comes to jerseys, my criteria are: were they one of my favorite players? Do I personally like them? Even if you're a star and I just, for some reason or another, am not a huge fan, not that interested in the jersey. I will say for goalie masks, I'm less picky because they're a lot harder to
They're
find.
so rare.
They're
Exactly.
super rare and they're all so cool. So I don't really discriminate when it comes to, whether you're a big name player or whether you're a career minor leaguer. Like if it looks cool, I want it. Like so here's for example, I like this mask right here. This is a Keith Kincaid mask. Kincaid put together a respectable career in the NHL, but by no means is he a star. But like, how cool is this mask artwork? You've got a devil wearing goalie pads, and he's flinging his mask off, and it's honestly, it just comes down to the design of the mask is what makes it desirable and appealing. This is actually Keith Kincaid's NHL debut mask, which is also cool. You were
Sure.
mentioning special moments or milestones. So not only is it really cool artwork, but it's tied to a significant moment or milestone in his career. But then you have masks like this one. This is Mike Dunham's mask that he wore, his first mask with the Devils organization. So back in the early 90s with the Albany River Rats. It's not tied to anything special. He never even played an NHL game in it. But if that's not the coolest paint you've ever seen, I mean, how can you not have that in your collection if you can make it happen? And it's interesting. I mentioned, Cujo, Curtis Joseph earlier as an example of an iconic goalie mask. This mask was painted by the same artist, Frank Cipra. So kind of see the resemblance there. Instead of a snarling dog, you've got the snarling devil.
Sure. It is tremendous. Give me some other names selfishly because I wasn't able to catch the table at the expo. And it does, if you have them within arm's length, great. And if not,
Yeah,
just say,
yeah,
oh, I got this guy or this guy. I just love hearing what's in the list, what's on the list.
yeah. This one's cool. This is a Kevin Weeks mask. I love this. It's got his classic Black Panther design that he wore pretty much everywhere he went. Made this design famous in
Mhm.
Carolina, and then carried it with him to New York and New Jersey. And I mean, this one is really cool. I love the ombre paint, as you would call it, on the cage, the black into the red, and
Yes,
I don't know if it comes through on the camera, but the claws on the panther there are all sparkly and holographic. I don't know how well it translates over video, but in
it
person, this thing
does.
is dazzling,
It
like a
pops.
super metallic car paint job almost. So I don't know. We've got Kevin Weeks who we have up there. I've got some Scott Clemenson masks up there that are really cool. Here's one of them that I really like. This is kind of his another iconic 90s goalie mask was Felix Potvin. He had, that abstract esque cat. And
Mhm.
so Clemenson, some of his Devils designs were modeled after that.
Sort of a play on that. Yes, a riff, if you will.
Exactly. So that's another one of my favorites. Like I said, I'm not picky when it comes. You don't have to be a big name goalie. I've got Ari Ahonen up there, who was a first round Devils draft pick. He was supposed to be the successor to Brodeur, but Brodeur played for a million years, and Ahonen went overseas and never played an NHL game. It doesn't matter. I have his mask up there, and it's awesome. I've got Jeff Frazee, another top prospect at one point who never amounted to much. He played one NHL game.
And this is the piece that guarded his face in that one National Hockey League game. This list it
Yes.
gets more and more impressive sort of the deeper we get into it. That's
Yeah,
a
this
beautiful
is from
piece.
his NHL debut. It was only 20 minutes. Hedberg started the game in Carolina. Wasn't having a great night. Brodeur was injured at the time, just a minor injury. So Hedberg was the starter, and he didn't have a great night. Frazee came in, played the only 20 minutes of his NHL career. I mean, it's funny. He was drafted higher than Jonathan Quick, and look at the the disparity between the two of them. But that's that one. And then, a couple other ones up there. And probably one of my favorites is this Corey Schneider mask. Maybe a somewhat controversial opinion, but I think Corey Schneider is the best goalie the Devils have ever had besides Brodeur. I don't think he gets enough credit because the team in front of him wasn't very good during the stretch he was here. This particular mask was one of his best seasons. This is 2014, 2015. He played almost 70 games. I think it was like 68 or 69 games in this mask. And I love the artwork on this. I love that big, bold devil tail on the forehead that, even if you're up in the 200 level, you can see that. But then
Sure.
up close, you have all of these intricate depictions of the Jersey Devil. You've got like the classic horse head winged devil. You've got this really creepy skull over here. And I just really like this mask, how it's a mix of, big, bold graphics, but then also really intricate. There's another winged devil that you can kind of see there. And this one too. This thing is just sparkling.
Tremendous detail. And for those of our friends who aren't watching but are listening, kudos to you, Jordan, for being able to take us on sort of a visual baseball play-by-play type tour where you're not watching the game, but you're still listening to it on the radio or you're streaming it or something like that. Excellent job. It's Tales from the Warehouse, volume number 60, a collector profile. Jordan Wompierski, nice enough to give us some of his time. Great masks. Dare I even ask, and this is like picking a favorite kid or a favorite wedding photo without upsetting your partner. I like this one. Oh, you do? That's terrible. Out of everything in your expansive collection, is there a top piece or top pieces that gives you such great pride? And it doesn't, every time I ask this, I always love the stories that come with this, or even if it's just an anecdote. It doesn't have to be a Yager or a Marty or a Niedermeyer or a Stevens it could be a Rupp story. I love this because. Is there something or some things? Are there some things that stand above the rest?
So you're right. It doesn't have to be a Marty. I have lots of stuff back on this rack here that I absolutely love and could never consider parting with. It doesn't have to be Marty, but it is a Marty. I mean, there's only for anyone who knows me or my collection, there's only one. There's only one right answer here, and that is It's not on the rack because it's in a special frame.
Of
Oh,
course. Be careful. No hernias, no broken glass. We want to see you back here within seconds. There it is. Oh,
this
that's got see. So this is the very famous, and
this
what
is
by
the
famous,
one.
this sweater has been talked about numerous times on this very podcast by multitude of people or myriad of people. That is the cup lifter.
It
It's
is.
that
That's the
has
Marty 2003 Cup.
drainage around the crest from what I'm guessing is not only game usage, because he wound up wearing that a little extra time. It's got champagne in there as well, Jordan. Talk
Yeah.
to me, brother. I finally get to, I've seen it in highlights, obviously, but eye-to-eye contact through the Tales from the Warehouse magic lens. What do we got here?
Yeah, all that yellowing you saw on the front, those are champagne stains because this is the jersey that Marty wore in Game 7 of the finals. Um, Obviously, any Devils fan knows that he was lights out during that playoff run. He had 7 shutouts, 6 of which were in that jersey at home. He had 3 shutouts in the finals, which is an NHL record, as was his 7 overall. And he wasn't supposed to wear this jersey in Game 7. Like you said, it's been talked about tons of times before, but the short version, I won't bore the people who already know the story, but the way Maigret had it set up with the team was that there was a Maigret set and a player set. And as soon as one of the two teams in the finals, either the Devils or the Ducks, achieved 3 wins and were thus on the verge of winning the Stanley Cup with the 4th win, that would trigger a switching of the sets. And so the Maigret set would be retired and the players would wear a new player set for, the decisive clinching games. Except Marty was apparently superstitious and he did not want to change out of his well-worn jersey that he had worn in round 1, round 2, round 3, and the first few games of the Stanley Cup Finals because he was playing so well in it. I mean, I don't blame him. It was a truly historic run for him, and he didn't want to switch jerseys. And so, Barry and Maigret were at first a little alarmed by this because maybe that meant the collector who had pre-ordered Marty's jersey wasn't going to get it, but they had some discussions and made some phone calls, and Marty very graciously agreed to hand over the jersey at the conclusion of Game 7, even though technically the players were supposed to get to keep those jerseys. He didn't want to switch, and he was okay with handing over the jersey if it meant he could wear it in Game 7, and so he did.
So Jordan, real quick, do you ever, and again, you've been doing this a while, I've been collecting a while, there are new collectors, there are old collectors, do you ever sit back, and we've also, I've been lucky enough to do this for now 60 volumes, and there have been people who've developed relationships with players, and I've come across and been lucky enough to chat with some as well. It blows my mind, and I'm not judging, but it blows my mind that Brodeur wouldn't want that for his forever or, a debut. And again, some guys just, it's okay. The fact that they're living that life, that's good enough for them. They don't need the fabric to accompany. Some of them along the way, they're like, yeah, that might be cool. I'll hold that one. But that lights out, that cup lifter, that amazingly performed in piece of fabric. I'm not mad. We as collectors love when the stuff comes our way.
Super glad it worked out that way.
But I'm scratching my head and I'm going, you, it's okay if you want this. It's okay. Like we hear stories of all the time, somebody's got a goal debut and they wound up having a Hall of Fame career. Whatever. It's just fabric. That's something that I always find so fascinating. It gives us the chance to, it's a hobby of connection, as you mentioned, whether we're connected to memories of games, whether we're connected to the fabric, whether we're connected to the people who made those games so special, or family members or loved ones that we attended those games with, all of the above. These guys aren't connected to the fabric, and we benefit from it, but I start to scratch my head a little bit and go, man, that's in your collection. It should be in over his fireplace. I don't know.
It really is interesting. I mean, I do think about that too. And over the years, I've spoken to certain players on occasion, and it's funny because some of them really don't care at all about their memorabilia. Just being in the moment, having been there, played the games, maybe they have the puck from their first goal, maybe they have a Stanley Cup ring, that's all that they need. The memories themselves are enough. And then other players are big collectors. And I guess I should be fortunate that Marty, either wasn't a big collector at the time or wasn't super sentimental, or maybe he was sentimental, but he would have rather, superstition won out and he would rather relinquish the jersey and get to keep wearing his good luck jersey. I'm not sure. I mean, I have a bunch of Brodeur items. For a while, they were super hard to find. A couple of years back, he sold off his whole collection through Steiner, so maybe he wasn't the most sentimental guy in the end, but it worked out in my favor. I do know he does have his 1995 Stanley Cup jersey, but another collector has his 2000 Cup jersey, and I'm lucky enough to have his 2003 Cup jersey. And so, thank you, Marty, for not being very sentimental or much of a collector.
That sweater comes with a whale of a story. It's Jordan Wompierski. He's part of Tales from the Warehouse, Volume 60, a collector profile, devil stuff to the extreme. Mygray.com. Go there, check it out. If you've taken part in the summer sale right after the expo, if you haven't yet, lots of stuff that you will like and or love and or want to purchase. You got Columbus, you got Nashville, you got the Devils, you got Minnesota this year, the Flyers, the Caps, of course, inventory galore, deals galore to be had. And over at MyGray Auctions, mygrayauctions.com right now, WNBA stuff like you have never seen. In fact, it's the inaugural franchise victory pieces from the Golden State Valkyries, including pieces from Caitlin Chen. Check it out right now. Is there a dream item that you would like to add, no matter how rare, unreachable? And again, you talk of certain decades and eras. Is it a Boschman? Is it a McLean? Is it a Muller? Is it a, there? I'll keep throwing out names, but
Yeah, yeah.
is there something that you're like, I mean, that Brodeur is a grail. It's done. It's there. There may be no other grail, or maybe you're like, there's actually something that I would like to one day add. I know where it is, but the person's taking it to the grave too. All good.
So yeah, sorry to disappoint the late '80s or early '90s Devils fans, but Boschman and McLean, and not for me. I didn't become a hockey fan until the late '90s, and so that's my sweet spot. All those players that I looked up to growing up, those are the players that I love collecting. And Marty was my first favorite player. He's my all-time favorite player, and so having that Stanley Cup jersey is the pinnacle. It doesn't get any better than that. Like I've conquered the game worn Everest, and now I'm just on my way back down. So there's nothing there's nothing that can top that. I mean, I will say, as cool and as awesome as that 2003 Stanley Cup run was, my favorite cup run was the 2000 Cup because, like I said, I wasn't a Devils fan yet or a hockey fan at all back in 1995. So awesome that the Devils won it, but it doesn't mean anything to me personally because I wasn't watching and rooting them on and personally invested. The first cup that I was personally invested in was the 2000 Cup, and so I will say the one big thing that I have still on my want list would be a 2000 Stanley Cup jersey. I have a handful from 2003. Obviously this Brodeur here is the best of that bunch, but I don't have one from 2000 yet, and so that's the one big one still to cross off on my list.
Check. You've been doing this for a while, as far as in the game worn / game used world. What would Jordan today like to tell first or second week collecting Jordan?
It's funny because the old gameworn.net forum
Sure.
is that was a very active message board back when I first got started. And I think a year or two ago, probably around the time that I got this Brodeur jersey, because I was searching the forum for some of Barry's old posts with the backstory on the jersey. And out of curiosity, I was just clicking through some of my old posts. And it was so funny. I don't remember exactly what it said, but there was one post that I made, and I said something along the lines of like, my ultimate grail would be a Brodeur jersey, but I'll never be able to find one or afford one, and so I'll have to settle for this instead. And so it just makes me laugh because lo and behold, 15, 16, 17 years later, not only did I get a Brodeur jersey, but I think it's the best one you can get. I can't think of any better Brodeur jersey. Honestly, I can't think of any better Devils jersey. I mean, obviously everybody has their own preferences, and to me, a lot of these jerseys back here aren't worth a particularly high amount of money, and they're some of them are from quote unquote scrub players, but they mean a lot to me. So I'm not saying that there's not a Devils jersey that means a lot to someone out there, but I can't think of anything that would top this Brodeur jersey. So It was a long-winded answer to your question. What would I tell myself back then? I would tell myself that you have no idea what's in store because I just never saw my collection growing the way that it has. But honestly, just patience and persistence. And over time, you accumulate and you accumulate and you accumulate. And then it got to the point where, luckily for me, I had accumulated enough stuff that when something like that became available, I was able to sell some of it off, which was a little bit of a painful process, but it was worth it.
Yeah, and so it's basically just keep on keeping on, and you never know what might befall you as far as sweater availability. And your answer wasn't long-winded. Have you heard my questions, Jordan? Come on, man. That's
Now you're a pro.
long-winded. Please. It's volume number 60, Tales from the Warehouse. Nice enough to be joined by Jordan Wompierski as we do a collector profile, talking Devils, talking state of the hobby, talking the just completed 20th iteration of the MyGray Expo. Check out mygray.com. Summer sale ongoing over at MyGray Auctions, the Golden State Valkyries, including some pieces worn by Caitlin Chen. It is a very special set, the inaugural franchise victory for the Valkyries. Pieces are up right now at mygrayauctions.com. At the expo, again, talked about the packed house, talked about the great crowds, talked about the diversity and collection and the people that showed up. Where do you think the hobby is going? It seems to be in a very good place, and I am always pleasantly astonished. I'm never disappointed when I go to an expo. Hell, I'm never disappointed when I open up a social media platform and look for sweaters, because it's a very robust, opinionated, and caring community. Where do you think we are headed?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. Like back in the day when I got started with collecting, I wasn't even aware of so much of it. I discovered MyGray. I stumbled across their website. I eventually got on to that GameWorn.net forum. But I feel like today it's so much easier for somebody to get involved. I mean, every social media platform, no matter what app I open on my phone, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Reddit, it's game worn, game worn, game worn. I mean, part of that is my algorithm knows me very well, but
Yeah.
the other part of it is there's just so many different avenues to learn and to buy and to sell, and even the teams themselves. Like back in the day, not as many teams had programs of their own or sold on their own. You were limited in the avenues you could find things, but now, you know, teams are auctioning gold pucks and jerseys and sticks, and then you've obviously still got MyGray and those program teams. There's just so much more availability, and more jerseys are being worn, which I understand some of the old school collectors don't always love, right? Because there's that mindset of, fewer sets is better wear. And that's true. But I also think it's good when all these jerseys are getting worn because it gives so many more collectors an opportunity to get one and to become part of the hobby. And it only takes one. Like once you get one, you're hooked, and then you're in, and you're in for life for
Yeah,
for the most part.
it's a wonderful, wonderful hobby, wonderful community. Schedule came out not all that long before we started to record this. Within the last day or two, the full schedule. Not that you've looked and played the game. Oh no, we're going to go 80 something and oh. I'm positive. Thoughts on the Devils off season, and I'll sort of just fill in the blank. If Markstrom's healthy and Hughes is healthy throughout the entirety of, then we're probably talking about a different Eastern Conference landscape, or at least slightly different.
Yeah, I think Hughes, he has his detractors and he can't stay healthy, and that's one of the biggest knocks on him. But he's such a dynamic player. I think he's a legitimate superstar. And I think if he stays healthy, the Devils will be in good shape. Um, as far as the Devils offseason so far, I don't know that they've done enough yet to really move the needle. I mean, they made some good moves. I think re-signing Allen.
Mm-hmm.
Allen was the top goalie on the market. And while I would have been okay if he went and found a payday elsewhere and the Devils brought up a younger goalie like Nico Dawes to back up Markstrom, I would have been fine with that. But the way they were able to get Allen locked up at such an affordable cap hit, I thought was an incredible move. Um, but all that being said, I don't think they've drastically improved the team, right? Like Allen was here last year. He's back. That's not an improvement. I think some of the, with all due respect to the players that have been shipped off, but unloading some of the dead weight is a start. bringing in a guy like Connor Brown is nice. Signing a guy like Dodonov is nice, but I don't think, they haven't landed that top six scorer or a difference maker. And that's fine, right? Like those players don't grow on trees. Everybody would love to land a top six difference maker. So I give their offseason a B minus so far. I think I would love for them to make one more impact move, but I think they're essentially rolling back the same team with a couple minor tweaks. But I think as long as they stay healthy, they'll be in really good shape, especially Hughes, because he's a game changer. And when he's on, he's on. He makes a huge difference out there.
All right, overtime, where we talk about pretty much whatever we want to talk about. You have 3 children.
I do.
I have 3 children. I long, while I still I love them very much, but now they're big kids, if you will. Again, my youngest is 16. You are in a different boat, my friend. I remember fondly taking kids to the beach, and we used to laugh because we went with the same group of 4 families, same 8 adults, same 9 kids. The youngest is now, again, mine, 16. The oldest is 26 and getting married next year. We just got off of a cruise ship with the same 17 that we used to go down to the Outer Banks in North Carolina.
That's
And
awesome.
while it's a different dynamic now, Jordan, I miss the days of lugging 5 towels and a baby tent and a baby shade and multiple blankets and one of those carts or wagons with the Jeep wheels on it. And we used to sit around the
You're
dads and moms.
describing my summer,
That's what
basically.
I was gonna like just sort of lead you into this cave of wonderment where, don't blink because it'll be gone. It's just a beautiful. You're like while the dads are all there, and it's like leg day and chest day and arm day all in one. And you're walking on the beach, and it's like walking on the moon, and you're lugging all this crap, and your wife is carrying, or I've got a kid and a bucket and a bat, and I mean, we used to sit around and go, man, even though you're spritzing out every last bit of the sand toys and the claws and the shovels and the buckets, and then you have to invert them and put them in the driveway, I wouldn't trade that for I'm glad they're at this age and enjoying it in a different fashion. But
Sure.
talk to me about vacationing with 3 relatively slash little ones.
Yeah, I mean, there's no such thing as a vacation with a 3-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 9-year-old. It's not a vacation. It's just work that I don't get paid for. Is what it is. It's work. But like you said, I mean, I wouldn't trade it for anything. They have such a good time. I don't mind being the mule, packing the car, lugging everything around. I mean, it's exhausting, and
Sure.
I need a vacation from my vacation every single time. But yeah, like you said, I wouldn't trade it for the world. They're only little for so long, and already, I mean, the fact that our oldest is 9, it's like you blink. It was like yesterday. She was a little one. Even my son, like he's 6 now.
Mhm.
I have a picture of him wearing this mask when he was like 2 or 3, and like,
Oh my
where does
gosh.
the time go? Like
No,
it flies by, and so I try to soak in every second. And we've got a couple fun trips planned this summer.
where to? Talk to me.
We've got uh, we've got Hershey, Pennsylvania coming up.
Sure.
We go camping for a couple days, and obviously we hit the theme park before we go home. We do a couple days down at the beach. We do some time in Wildwood. We do some time in Sea Isle. We've got Disney on the docket this September, so we're going to be
Is that
plenty
your first
busy.
visit to Disney?
It's our second. We were there a couple of years ago and had a great time, so we've been meaning to get back.
Oh, it's so beautiful. And again, in through the eyes of the babes, when they walk through that gate and they're just, I mean, it's the happiest place on earth. And you look at the
It
kids
is.
and you
It's
go,
funny
this is why
because
we're here.
I went into our Disney trip. It was 2023 that we went. I went in expecting to have zero fun, but ready and willing to tough it out and be exhausted for their sake. But I actually had a blast. Like it was a lot of work and a lot of walking and a lot of money, but the whole family had a great time, and so that's why we're going back this year.
It's well worth it. Jordan, thanks so much for sharing the collection. Thanks for sharing a little bit about the family and about the vacations upcoming. Quick final reminder, go to mygray.com. Summer sale is ongoing. Peruse. You will find something or some things that you like. And the Golden State Valkyries inaugural franchise victory auction ongoing right now at mygrayauctions.com. Pieces from the team from that very special first win, including some pieces from Caitlin Chen as well. mygrayauctions.com. Jordan, thanks, brother. This is long overdue. Pleasure to make your
Yeah,
acquaintance.
thank you so much for having me, Scott. I appreciate it. I had a great time chatting with you.
Absolutely. Until next time, for Jordan, I'm Scott. The warehouse is closed.